So I'm going to bring up someone that is very dear to my heart. I love this guy. He's like a brother to me. There's a saying out there, and I hope you write this down because I believe it to be so true. There's a saying that says, who's following you is important, but who you follow is more important. All right? And Nick, I know everybody knows Nick as, most of you guys know Nick as the junior board member, youngest to hit it, talking on stage in front of thousands of people. But here's how I know Nick, and this is why I love him so much, is because if my daughter has a problem with math, he's the guy that jumps on a Zoom call with her and helps her. That's the type of guy that Nick is. He's the type of guy that would literally, if you need a ride somewhere, he's helped me move a bunch of times. Thank you, Nick. If you need a ride, he'll do it. Doesn't matter what time. That's the type of person that Nick is. He's an amazing father. He's an incredible husband. Not only that, but he's a great leader. He has helped me through a lot of personal stuff that I've gone through in life. And I'm telling you, we could not have anyone better to talk about the next stuff than Nick Greco. So please give it up for my boy, Mr. Nick Greco.
All right. What's up, y'all? Doing good? All right, sweet. So I stand between us and lunch. I'm the last talk before lunch, and I'm gonna go through some good stuff. And for those of you guys that we haven't had the chance to meet yet, my name is Nick Greco, and I got introduced to this whole idea, just insurance as business, at the end of 2020. And kind of like Dan was saying at the beginning, 2020 was jacked up. Like, how many of us like 2020 messed some stuff up, changed some stuff in our lives? A bunch of us had built a business for 10, 12 years, and COVID just completely wrecked it. Like, it was a travel business. Like, what worse thing could you have been in for COVID? When I heard about this, I found myself in a spot where, my wife had just had our second son, and that business wasn't like, we had built that business up to like a six-figure business, and they weren't paying us anymore. So I didn't have any income. I was legit. Okay, and this is before I was ever in life insurance. I was borrowing cash value out of my life insurance policies to pay bills. Okay, basically, like, what am I going to do? And then I got a call from my buddy, and he goes, "Hey, my neighbor Mark is making all this money selling insurance," and I didn't have anything else to do. I was at the point where I'm like, I'm either going to go get a job, and if you know me at all, like, me and jobs, just nah. And or I had to start something else. And so got introduced to this and got my license at the beginning of 2021 and started doing this. And, if I could give you guys anything, just, you're in the room. I'm going to talk about scheduling. I'm going to talk a little bit about leads. Find somebody who has what you want in this business. And we got, lots of people winning in this business. So find somebody who has what you want and just let them coach you. Like, we can help you get wherever you want to get to in this. Okay, that's the beautiful thing about life insurance or just this business as a whole is, like, you can make $1 million a year selling life insurance, like, without a team, without an agency. You can make $1 million a year. So, and we got people doing that. So, like, whatever, find someone who has what you want and do what they tell you to do. So, I went from that to, my fourth month in the business. I'm going to talk about how I did this, but my fourth month in the business made $20,000 from a standing start. And it's not like I was an insurance expert, you know what I mean? Like, I was an insurance idiot, okay? I didn't know what I was doing or any of that kind of stuff. I found Mark Hutchison, okay? So find someone who has what you want. Well, Mark was making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month selling life insurance. I'm just going to do what this guy Mark tells me to do. And I figured if I suck, I could make like 1/10. You know what I mean? I could make like 3,000 or 5,000 or something, pay my bills, And we've been at it ever since. And so I'm excited that you guys are here. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about like the lead investment side of things, and then really what I want to talk to you guys about is building your schedule. Okay? Because here's the thing: two things. You are independent. You are your own boss here. Okay, and that is a fantastic thing. Okay, like, how many of us like being self-employed? You're like, yeah. Some of you are like, I like a boss. But like, we all like being self-employed, and so you get to be your own boss. And the good thing about being your own boss is, like, you can work when you want to work. If you got to take care of the kids, you can go take care of the kids, whatever. Okay. The worst thing about being your own boss is some of you are the best boss that you've ever had. You're the boss that's like, just do it tomorrow. I'll work tomorrow. It's cool. You know what I mean? Or, like Hutch was saying, when it's time to make the dials, he's doing the dishes, he's sweeping, he's doing chores he hasn't even thought about in years, So this is one of the most important parts of doing this thing is the schedule, like building your schedule. Like if you're going to be self-employed, yeah, you could go make $1 million a year. But if you want to go make $1 million a year, you have to have $1 million a year type of schedule. And the problem is that a lot of us don't have, like maybe you don't have $1 million a year type of schedule. You got a $500 a month kind of schedule. You know what I mean? And then you want to complain that you're not making the money that you want to make. You with me? So, talking about lead investment, people ask us all the time, like, hey, how much should I spend on leads? What should I get? What kind of leads? And how much should I spend? And all that kind of stuff. Here's what I will tell you. This is a blanket statement. Talk with the person who your upline, whoever. But I would say you want to, okay, as quickly as possible, you want to get your lead investment, like the money that you're putting into leads, you want to get that up to $500 a week as quick as you can. You might not start at $500 a week. When I first got started, I didn't have the money to spend $500 a week on leads. And when you're brand new, like if you're in the room right now and you're brand new, you're probably sitting there like, shit, I ain't going to spend no $500 a week. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's $2,000 a month. I can't believe that, right? Because that's where I was too. Okay, but let me just run through the numbers with you. So you want to get it up to $500 a week. Maybe you're not there yet. That's okay. Let's get it up to $500 a week. And here's how it breaks down. You spend $500 a week on leads. What's going to end up happening is you're probably going to 5x whatever you spend on leads. That's probably going to be what you end up making. It could be more, could be less, but let's just say 5x is about accurate. Okay, and so if you're spending $500 a week, and I'll show you how we get there, you're probably going to be making about $2,500 per week in your bank account. So like how many of us, if I sat you down and I was like, hey, give me $500 and then next Friday you just got to work really hard, all right? I'm going to pay you to do this, but you got to sit there, you got to call the leads, okay? You got to go sit down with them and whatever happens. It doesn't matter what happens, but at the end of the week, I'm going to deposit $2,500 into your bank account. Like how many of us would pay $500 to get $2,500 deposited in our bank account? Everybody, right? And what if I put it on like a contract and we wrote it out and like, hey, like we would all do that. Okay, the difference here is that you're self-employed, okay, and there is no contract. So like, yeah, so like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So here's what I learned from Mark early on. Any time that I ever was like, hey, should I buy these leads? And I would ask Mark, like, hey man, there's and I live in Denver, so there, I was working leads in a certain area, and then every now and again there'd be like some extra leads in a different area, like a different county, and I'd always call Mark, like, hey man, should I buy these leads? And he would ask me the same question every single time. He's like, are you going to work them? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, absolutely buy the leads. It didn't matter if it was $1,000 worth of leads or $200 worth of leads or whatever. So, if you're in here and you're like, I don't know, like, are you going to work them? If you're going to work them, buy the leads, okay? Because if you spend $500, you're going to get $2,500. And if you're better, if you're good, okay, if you're like Mark is probably, his numbers are probably way better than that. So just want you guys to understand, like, it's going to take some lead investment, and you want to have some sort of a consistent lead flow, okay? So I see people do this all the time where, like, they will start buying leads, they'll get a consistent lead flow, they start making the money, and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna turn off my leads, okay? Bad idea. For sure, bad idea. Anybody in here ever done that? Okay, yeah, Mark is raising it. This is a terrible idea. You want to keep the leads flowing, okay? Just like in any business, like you have to keep, there's inputs and then there's outputs. The input being the leads, the output being you working the leads and getting the money deposited, okay? And again, like how we end up getting here is because of the schedule, okay? But if you don't have leads coming in, then you're just going to get frustrated because you're not going to be able to do the schedule that I'm getting ready to talk about, okay? And so my fourth month in the business, so my first month was January of 2021. I remember it was January 4th of 2021. It was a Monday. Start calling these leads. And my first month made a couple $1,000s, okay? And I was ecstatic, okay? Because my first week, I only did like 2 or 3 appointments. I was kind of toe dipping okay, in the insurance, like, let me see if it works. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? Is this guy Mark real? He's got a funny accent, you know. He's from Georgia. I don't know if I could trust those people. I'm just kidding. But so my first week, I was kind of toe dipping. I maybe did 3 appointments, okay? And truth be told, like, I was nervous at like my first appointment that I ever did, because all I'd ever done prior to this was just that other business. I'd never done anything else, okay? And so that first appointment, it was a crazy cat lady, okay, just if you're wondering, and I get over there, and, you know, I just like, I'm going to, you know, I remember talking with Mark on the phone, like, because the script is like, hey, I'm going to come by and get you the information. I'm like, dude, what's the information? Like, can I bring like a pamphlet or something, you know? And he's like, no, man, just get him the options. I'm like, but what are their options? He's like, we don't know until we get over there. Okay, and that's why we do this stuff like Dave was talking about, right? Like you get in the house, you find out what they can qualify. That's the information that we're getting them. But I was thinking I had to like print something out, or I don't know. I'm like, oh, I'll print out the final expense grid and that's their information. He's like, no, don't do that. But I remember being nervous, and here's the thing is when you get to somebody's house, just make a friend and let's just see if we can help them. Like I realized after running that first appointment, like, okay, I didn't sell the lady. She was crazy. She was a cat lady. It was weird. But I remember I left there and I was like, I could do this. You know what I mean? Because it's just people. And it's just like, I want to make a friend and just let me see if I could help them. Okay? So I made a couple $1,000s. My second week, here's what happened to me is I sat down with a lady. She had like 3 or 4 different policies. Okay? And also, side note, if you're new, I'm going to talk about like what my schedule was. Okay? And I did what Mark told me to do, which was make my appointments every hour and a half. This was like a 3.5-hour appointment, okay? Like it's almost like this for everybody, like your first sale, like they got 12 policies and like they got all this medical stuff. You know, I called Mark at least 28 times, you know what I mean, in that first appointment. Like, hey, you know, she's got another one, you know, another policy. He's like, hang up on me, call that insurance company. I'm like, okay, And so what ended up happening is I ended up helping that lady. We got her more coverage for less money, okay? It's not like that's hard to sell. It's not like I had to, at the end of the thing, like, do you want to do this? She's just like, oh, yeah, screw those other companies. Cheaper, all right. Yeah, it wasn't hard. The other guy was paying $100 a month for $25,000 of life insurance, and we got him $50,000 of life insurance for $107 a month. Like, do you think I had to twist that guy's arm? No. Okay, I called Mark in the house. He told me what to do. And I made like, I remember I made a couple $1,000s like that second week. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, I'm new. I don't even know what I'm doing. But like, where else can you make $2,000 a week when you're brand new? You know? And so, you know, first month made a couple thousand. Second month, same thing, maybe 2,000, 3,000. Third month was maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 because I stopped toe dipping and I just decided like I need to do this. And my fourth month, and here's really what I want to talk with you guys about. My fourth month, I made $20,000, okay? 4 months into the business, and I was still calling Mark in every house. But what I want you guys to know is that really wasn't by accident, okay? In fact, I asked Mark, okay? I asked him, like, what do I got to do to make $20,000? How many of y'all want to know what do you got to do to make $20,000? Here's what Mark told me. The most important thing, and we're talking about scheduling, the most important thing is your appointments. Like I'm talking about sitting in person with people, okay? If you're doing like virtual type stuff or anything else, like, okay, talk with the person, you know, they can help you with all that stuff. I'm talking about in person, this is what I did to go make $20,000. And if you do this, okay, I was skeptical when Mark told me, okay? I was skeptical when Mark told me this. But then at the end of the month, you know, I was like, oh shit, you know, like this, he was right. So here's what he told me. If you sit with 20 families a week, if you sit with 20 families a week, you're going to make that money. Okay? And, you know, are you really going to, if it's only 17,000, are you really going to be that upset? Or if it's 23, are you going to give the other 3 back? You know what I mean? Like, no. Okay? And I'm just telling you that this works. If you go sit, because you get enough chances at bat. Okay, there's a lot of folks in here, and I'll kind of show you guys how the numbers might work. You know, you're spending that money on, you know, let's say $500 a week on leads, and in order to do this, like maybe it needs to be a little bit more than 500. Like, here's the way that I went at it that month of April of 2021, okay, is if my goal and my objective was this: sit with 20 families. Okay, so if I had to spend a little bit more on leads, I went and spent a little bit more on leads. Okay, and just full disclosure, I didn't have to spend that much more on leads to get the 20 appointments. Okay, I was already at around $500 a month, but there was a couple weeks in there where like I wasn't getting the appointments that I needed to, so I would scoop up some more to give myself more chances to get the 20 appointments. Okay, you need to sit with 20 families a week. That was my number one objective. I wasn't focused on all this other stuff. Okay, and so what I did, and understand, I'm going to give you like some times. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I did. Okay, and what I want you guys to know and realize is it's not like the times. Like having an 8:30 appointment on Tuesday isn't as important as just sit with 20 families in a week. That's the important thing. Go sit with 20 families in a week if you want what we're talking about here. Okay? So, you might have to spend a little bit more on leads, or maybe you can't do an appointment on Tuesday more, whatever. Just figure it out. You know what I mean? To get the 20, to go sit with 20 families in a week. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. All right. So as far as making your schedule, here's the way that I would do it. Here's the way that I did it when I did this, is Monday, I just blocked out Monday for the dials, okay? And I'll talk about when and all that stuff, but I blocked out Monday for the dials, and I just, like Mark was talking about, like Marcus was talking about, like the problem is if you're your own boss, and if you're doing the dishes instead of making the phone calls, okay, you're going to jack up your whole week, okay? And this is what I see new people do it all the time. They're like, well, I'm like, how many dials? They're like, well, like 58. Like, no. That is not enough dials, okay? Like, and sometimes people, they also ask me this: how many dials do I need to be making? I don't know. Like as many dials as you need to go sit with 20 families. Some days it's more dials, some days it's less dials. Sometimes you get lucky and you get all the appointments by like noon, you know what I mean? Whatever, okay? But as many dials as it takes. That's really the answer, okay? And that's the way that I had to frame it in my mind. I'm like, I'm just gonna do, I told my wife, like, I'm just gonna do whatever I gotta do to go sit with 20 families. So that's what that's what I went and did. Okay, so I didn't, people are like, how many dials? I don't know, as many as it takes. And I would start dialing, this is for me, okay? I would start dialing around 9 in the morning, and I would do like a morning dial session, let's just say 9 to 11, okay? And then I would dial again from maybe like 1 to 3, okay? And it would be a good dial day if I would, get the appointments I needed in these first 2 sessions. Rarely, ever, did that actually happen, okay? Like one time, I think, okay? And then I would dial again from, let's say, like 5 until I got the appointments, okay? And how late is too late to call? I don't know. Try it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe in Atlanta it's later. I don't know. Give it a go, In Colorado, it's probably like 8:30, okay? And, somebody's like, oh, well, I don't know. Okay, then just don't do the 20 appointments and you might not make, the 20,000. Like, it's okay if you don't want to do those things. You know what I mean? But I was in a position, like, I needed to do those things. You know what I mean? When I told my wife, like, hey, Mark said this, here's how I can make the 20,000. She was like, do it. You should do that. She was like, you should do that. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, you for sure should do that. So I would make as many dials as I had to make. Okay? And there was days where it was over 300 dials. Okay? That's okay. All right? Just track those things. But some days it was a lot of dials, some days it was less dials. And then what I would do is I would schedule an appointment for 8:30 would be my first one. Then I would do 10 o'clock. Then I would do 11:30. Then I would do 1 o'clock. Then I would do 2:30. Then I would do 4 o'clock. Then I would do 5:30. Then I would do 7. That's what I did on a Tuesday, okay? So 8:30, 10, 11:31, 2:34, 5:37. I would get names, like my job, your job on Monday is to get names in these time slots. You with me? Like, not on any of this other stuff. Just get names in there, okay, from the dials. And I have agents all the time that are like, well, wasn't able to book a lot of appointments, so I guess I'm just gonna go door knock tomorrow. Like, you could do that. Nothing, Bell talked about door knocks. I would much rather spend more time in my chair in my office, okay, making the phone calls and actually getting good at that and get the appointments than just go drive all over town and let me just see who's home, okay? Because who the hell knows, right? Like I wanted more certainty. And if I'm gonna go sit with 20 people, do I want to roll the dice just driving all over town trying to door knock people, see if they're home? Or do I want to, schedule all these appointments and, oh, hey, if my 4 o'clock no shows me, then I'm gonna go door knock around like, hey, let me see who's close to here, okay? We've got tools for that. You can just pull that up on your website, okay? And then I'll go door knock that person, see if they're around. All right, so I'll door knock to kind of fill in the gaps if people no show me. But I would set up 8 appointments, okay? And then what I would do is I would keep dialing on Monday. This is what I personally did. Other people might do it different. You can do it different. Like I said, the exact details don't matter as much as this matters, okay? But I would schedule an 8:30 on Wednesday, and this is me dialing from Monday. So what would happen is I would get, these morning appointments filled up, and then I'd still be asking people. I'd just start saying, hey, I'm going to be on your side of town the next couple of days getting this information out to you, about 10 other families that requested it. Are you typically around in the morning, afternoon, evening? And if my morning appointments were full and they said morning, I would just say, all right, great, I'll be out there on Wednesday morning. What's better, 8:30 or 10? Okay? So I would fill up a Wednesday morning. 1 o'clock. So this is what I would do, is I would try to get 4 or 5 appointments on Wednesday, okay? 4 to 5 on Wednesday. And then I would come home Wednesday evening, and guess what I was doing Wednesday evening? Dials. Yay. Talking to the people on the phone. All right. And then Thursday, I would make another full day, okay? And again, it doesn't matter so much the exact times and days and all that kind of stuff. What matters the most is sitting down with 20 people. And I'll show you guys what ends up happening when you do this, okay? So I'll try to get another 8 appointments on Thursday. And if you add this up, this is 8, let's just call it 4 plus 8, okay? And guess what? If my math is right, that's 20 right there. And guess what would happen on like the week of? Okay, I'd schedule these appointments, and do you think every one of my appointments that I ever booked would always be there 100% of the time? Hell no. All right, it's not like I had a terrible show up rate, but my goal was to sit with 20 families, and typically what would happen is if I scheduled 20, I'd probably sit with about 15, okay? And out of the 15, and this is probably going to be your numbers too, I would probably end up helping 5. Just about, like 1 out of 3. And here's what I have seen new agents do all the time. All the time is you schedule the 20 appointments. You're like, woohoo, got my 20 appointments. And 5 of them, you sit down with 15, and 5 of them no-show you, okay? And I see new people all the time want to sit around and bitch and moan and complain. Oh, I can't believe they weren't there. Oh, this was a no-show. Or, sorry. You know what I mean? Like, what? I know you want to complain to somebody. Like, are no shows fun? No. Oh, I drove an hour and a half and they weren't. Like, oh, I'm sorry. All right, you can choose what to focus on. Okay, you can choose what to focus on, and I'm just telling you right now, don't focus on the 5 people that didn't. Call them next week, whatever. They weren't there. Okay. The other thing that if you sit down with 15 families and 5, you end up helping 5 of them. Okay, that means that the other 10 did not buy life insurance from you. And guess what I see new agents do all the time? Oh, well, they were so stupid in there, and I can't believe Bob said he doesn't want anything. Like, you can choose what you want to focus on. Do you want to sit around and focus on the 10 goofballs that filled out the dang thing in the mail and didn't buy? You can if you want to, but have fun with that. Focus, when you go run the appointments, it almost seems to me that, when I would go run these appointments, the appointment was either a no-show or the appointment was just, excuse my language, batshit crazy, or it was awesome. You know what I mean? There wasn't a whole lot of oh yeah, it was okay. They kind of bought life insurance. You know what I mean? It was oh my gosh, that guy's crazy. I got to leave. You know what I mean? Or like, oh my God, they're the best people. They're the best people ever. I love those guys. There wasn't a whole lot of in between. All right, you know what I mean? And again, like you can choose what you want to focus on. Do you want to focus on, the 5 families that you helped, or the 10 crazy people, crazy cat ladies, or what, people hitting on you, or whatever. I don't want to scare y'all, but like I had this lady one time. It was the weirdest appointment I have ever done. She's like standing in my face, like it was weird. I thought she was gonna kiss me. She was like 60. I wasn't threatened. It was just. And her kid was there. He's like, Mom, stop. For real, it was weird. And then anyway, she was like sitting on the couch, like trying to, I swear to you, like I left there and I called my wife. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like that was weird. Like it felt like I had to call her, just. All right, so you can choose what to focus on. Okay, and so many new people are like focused on like, oh, well, this guy was a jerk to me. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, what about the 5 people that you actually helped? Focus on that, because at the end of the day, like, if you can go help 5 families out of the 15 families, like, you're doing good. It's just the problem is that, people are running, 6 appointments in a week, and then the 6 that they get happen to be the crappy 6 appointments. And then you wonder like, oh, it's not working. It's like, well, you're just not running enough appointments, because there is wonderful people out there. I remember, so, kind of going back to just how it ended up working out for me is the first week, okay, I'm like gearing up, like, all right, April, 20,000. Mark Hutchison told me, my wife's on board, like, I'm gonna go make this money. And my Tuesday appointments, I ended up selling some policies, but it was like the policies were like the premium is like $23. You know what I mean? And $17, so I'm like, all right, I got like 2 in that day. I'm like, all right. And then Wednesday, completely blanked out on Wednesday. Okay, just no sales. Okay, Thursday's going, and it's just nonsense. Oh my gosh, they no-show me. Bunch of crazy people. My like 5:30 appointment on Thursday night, you guys, and it's like, I've gone this whole week like, oh, I'm gonna do my 20 appointments. This is awesome. I'm gonna make all this money. And I'm coming home at night drinking, okay? Because I'm like, that was rough, A little bit of whiskey, Tip for you new folks. My 5:30 appointment on Thursday. So like, keep in mind, like I'm doing what they told me to do, and I've made like $800 for the whole week or something. I'm like, I thought I was gonna make $5,000. My 5:30 appointment, Ivan and Peggy. I get over there to Ivan and Peggy's house, and they're like, oh, so what's this all about? Okay, I'm like, well, you filled out the form, and they're like, we don't need no life insurance. We already got it. I'm like, okay, well, what do you got? And they're like, well, we got AARP. Okay, and I remember, because I've been doing it for a couple months, like, AARP ain't no good. So I learned from Hutch, and I'm like, go get that policy. We look at those policies, and just long story short, they were overpaying for their life insurance. I ended up, no joke, I left that house, and what I made in commissions from that one house was $5,000. Okay, and what do you think my like? Some of y'all, if you would have gone to Ivan and Peggy's house, guess what your attitude would have been by the end of the week? You would have been drinking on the way to Ivan and Peggy's house. And then you wonder why you don't make the sale, because like you have to be able to go through and do this without a loss of enthusiasm. And that's the hard part, okay? Like, you got to learn how to handle the disappointments, okay, along the way. And, I made $5,000 at Ivan and Peggy's house, okay? And yeah, I don't remember I think I skipped this one because I was so happy. I'm rebooking it. And then here's the other thing is so if you look at this schedule, Friday and Saturday, okay, those are open. So guess what I would do a lot of times on Fridays? I would book extra appointments. I would, because these people would no-show me. So I'm like, I got to get the 20, okay? Well, if 5 of them no-show me, guess where I'm booking these other appointments? On Friday, okay? And like, when did I die? I don't know. I figured it out, okay? And what happened that particular week is like my 8:30 on Friday, I made sales. It was a husband and wife. They were actually my first death claim. The 10 o'clock was another client where she was paying like $200 a month. Okay, so like I ended up making like maybe $7,000 that first week doing this, but it was all at the end of the week. And here's the thing: is like you don't get a printout at the beginning of the week when you book all the appointments. Like, oh, this one's going to be good, this one's going to suck. This lady's going to try to kiss you. You know what I mean? Like you don't get a printout of that. You just got to run the appointments, okay? And the thing is when it's Monday night and it's 5 o'clock and you've got 3 appointments for Tuesday, that's really where the rubber hits the road. True or not true, Bell? Like that's where the rubber hits the road. Because, you got 3 appointments and, average people are like, I'm just good with the 3. I'll just keep the 3. You know what I mean? I'll go door knock. You know what I mean? That's what you say to make yourself feel better. Like, let me just go knock them. Right? And then instead of door knocking, you're at Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you're eating your chicken sandwich. You see Marcus calling you. You're like, I'm in an appointment. Call you later. The rubber hits the road Monday night at 5 o'clock when you got 3 appointments. And it's like, do I keep making the dials or don't I keep making the dials? And I'm just telling you, you got to keep making the dials, okay? You got to keep making the dials because you could. I've had days where it's like 5 or 6 o'clock on that dial day, and I don't have any. I've got like 2 appointments, okay, and they're like some shaky appointments, like the kind they're like, we're busy, we got a garage sale going. I'm like, I'll just come to your garage sale, Side note, I had an appointment that they said that, and I'm like, I'll just come to your garage sale, Like, will you be there at 4? And they're like, yeah. Got there was no garage sale. So, like, I knocked on the door, I'm like, where's the garage sale? You know what I mean? Because I thought they were lying. We were going to set it up, but we didn't. I ended up helping them both, and it was, so I showed up to the garage. That's where the rubber, you got to finish making the dials. Okay, like I've had days where I've only got 2, like I said, and from 6 to 7:30, I book all the rest of my appointments because I didn't give up. And I call back through the same leads that I already called twice that day. Okay, but guess what? Now they're home, they're off work. Okay, and so I would leave, like I said, I would leave Friday and Saturday open because sometimes I would dial on Friday and I would go run appointments on Saturday. Guess what determined whether or not I had to go run appointments on Friday or Saturday? Okay, did I sit with 20 families? Some of you guys, what determines whether or not you make those extra phone calls is if you feel like it. True or not true? It's absolutely true. And, do you guys want to make dials right now? Do you feel like making dials right now? No. Like, no, of course, you're not going to feel like it. So unless you're committed to something, okay, you're gonna find yourself in hot water. So is that helpful for some of you guys? Yeah. Cool.